Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into this incredibly moving anime-style underdog story centered around a poor laborer named Diru. On the surface, yeah, it kind of looks like a classic tale about surviving a natural disaster. But at its core, it is absolutely a deep dive into the true meaning of family. I am so pumped to walk you through this because, honestly, the way this story unfolds is just a masterclass in uncovering what true, genuine connection really looks like.
So let's kick things off with a pretty profound question that really frames our entire analysis today. What actually makes a family? Is it defined just by genetics, just the blood in your veins? Or is it defined by the people who stand right there beside you, shoulder to shoulder, when life gets incredibly tough? Keep that exact question in the back of your mind as we watch Diru's journey unfold.
Okay, so we're introduced to our protagonists, Diru and his wife Kadri, at literally their absolute lowest point. They're trapped in this unrelenting week-long rainstorm that is, quite literally, washing away their humble livelihood. They've got no safety net, zero savings to speak of, and absolutely no support system to fall back on. I mean, it is just the two of them against the elements. And man, this disaster escalates so rapidly. Just look at how this plays out. On day one, the rain just stops him from working, right? Bad, but survivable. But by day two, disaster actually strikes indoors. Their roof starts leaking and the water completely ruins all of his saved paper money. Then, by day three, Diru is forced out into these fierce, freezing winds just to work for a cruel landlord simply so they can survive. The storm isn't just raging outside anymore, it's actively tearing their life apart from the inside. And to make matters infinitely worse, instead of, offering a helping hand, his own community turns on him. When Diru shows up for work, shivering and desperate, the villagers actually hurl brutal taunts at him. They call him a jinx, they completely isolate him just because he's an orphan. They are literally weaponizing his lack of a family against him in his single most vulnerable moment. Honestly, this is the harsh reality of Diru's underdog existence, and it perfectly illustrates what true isolation really looks like. It's not about being alone out in the wilderness. It's about living right there among people, working alongside them every day, but being completely, utterly devoid of a support system. He's treated as a total outcast in his own home village. But the narrative completely shifts on Diru's walk home. He spots this couple, Ramen and Janki, and they are stranded. They're shivering under a tree, trapped in that very same harsh storm with absolutely nowhere to go. Now, I really want you to notice the striking contrast here. Think about how the villagers just treated Diru, and then compare that to how Diru treats Ramen and Janki. The villagers, who literally share Diru's community, treat him like an absolute enemy. But Diru, a guy who has literally nothing to spare, he treats these complete strangers with the warmth of a loving relative, and he actually invites them right into his small, leaky home. Once they're inside Diru's humble home, the magic of shared humanity completely takes over. I love this part. Kadri's face just lights up at the idea of having guests. It's a total first for them. She joyfully cooks this feast with whatever tiny bit of food they have left. They stay up talking late into the night, bonding over the shared meal while the storm just rages outside. It's beautiful, and it perfectly proves that compassion can create a real sense of family instantly, no matter what your background or bank account looks like.
So the next morning rolls around, and Ramen insists on accompanying Haru to his difficult labor job just to help him out. But of course, the cynical villagers strike again. When Diru introduces Ramen as his guest, they just ruthlessly laugh. They mock the very idea that an outcast, an orphan, could ever have houseguests or friends. They are actively trying to strip away the one tiny piece of joy Diru has just found.
And right here is where the tension seriously spikes. Diru is weakened, he's been out working in this relentless rain for days, he's caught a fever, and honestly, his exhaustion just gets the better of him. His hands slip, and he accidentally drops a single sack of grain right into the floodwaters. And wouldn't you know it, the grain belongs to the wealthy, absolutely ruthless landlord, Thakur Durjan Pratap. The sheer cruelty of this Thakur character is perfectly encapsulated by a single number, 3. For the accidental loss of just one sack of grain, the Thakur demands 3 sacks of compensation. It's wild. It is an impossible penalty, very clearly designed to crush a man who is already drowning.
Back at home, Kadri rightfully calls out the sheer injustice of this whole situation. She says, when the loss is 1 sack, the money taken should only be for 1. Simple math, right? But this highlights a really stark reality in our story. It shows exactly how the powerful exploit the vulnerable. The Thakur isn't seeking justice here. He is totally leveraging a disaster to extract greed.
And so, we hit absolute rock bottom in our underdog story. Diru has been fired, like physically thrown out of the Talker's estate. He's deeply in debt for those 3 sacks of grain, and he is completely out of options. We actually see Diru and Kadri weeping in their room, facing absolute financial and social ruin. The storm has, for all intents and purposes, finally broken them.
But wait, because here is where the plot takes a brilliant turn. Janki overhears Diru and Kadri crying. She goes over to Raman, and they secretly reveal something amazing to each other. They aren't helpless travelers at all. They are actually incredibly wealthy city merchants. They have money, land, businesses, the whole shebang, but what they lack are true relationships. They hid their identity because they were terrified people only wanted them for their wealth. They were desperate to find genuine, unselfish kindness, and guess what? They found it right here in Diru. Acting exactly as true family would, Raman steps up. He brings out stacks of cash, not only to completely clear Diru's unjust debt, which, by the way, Diru gets to metaphorically throw right back in the Takur's face, but he also offers Diru a life-changing business partnership in the city. He needs a trustworthy partner, and Diru has proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that he has an absolute golden heart.
So, as the climax of our story unfolds, Diru gratefully accepts this incredible offer. And out of immense gratitude, Kadri gives him a brand new kurta to wear for this new life. But as Diru is changing his clothes right there in the room, a secret mark on his skin is suddenly exposed to the light.
The ultimate twist is revealed right here, folks. Raman just stares in absolute shock as he spots a distinct, lifelong birthmark on Diru's neck. Why? Because it perfectly, exactly matches a birthmark on Raman's own neck. Raman completely breaks down. He cries out, "You are my brother. Our hearts were connected even as strangers." It's this beautifully emotional realization that proves they are actually long-lost brothers who were separated at birth. It instantly explains that immediate unconditional bond they felt the very second their eyes met during the storm. It's like they were drawn together by this invisible thread.
The completion of Diru's underdog arc is honestly just stunning. I mean, look at this massive shift. He goes from ruined wages and massive debt to being a wealthy city merchant. He goes from being mocked as his village outcast to being respected way more than the Takur himself. And, most importantly of all, he goes from being an isolated orphan to being completely reunited with his biological brother.
But listen, this is the absolute crucial takeaway from our explainer today. Yes, blood ultimately confirmed their bond, but make no mistake, compassion built the family first. It was their shared humanity, right? The shelter they offered during a literal storm, and that mutual respect they showed when they thought they were just total strangers, that is what actually cemented them as family long before that birthmark was ever revealed.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a final provocative thought. Think about your own life for a second. Who are the people weathering the storm with you right now? You know, the ones holding the umbrella when the rain is just pouring down? And are you truly recognizing them as your chosen family? Thanks so much for exploring this incredible story with me, and definitely keep valuing those connections that pull you through the storm.